We've just had one of the biggest liquidation events in crypto history, which has seen altcoins drop from 50 to 90%. Now, in this video, I'm going to break down my overall thoughts on the crypto market, where I think we're going, and why I think that there's nothing to worry about. Now, I did just want to quickly mention our channel sponsor, MEXC. If you want a reliable crypto exchange to get started with, you can sign up and get up to $1,200 in future bonus giveaways, as well as $30 in USDT for free when you do sign up. Just scan the QR code to get started. So let's get into the charts. So straight away, we can see that since coming up to test those all-time highs, we had this massive red candle, and Bitcoin dropped from about 124,000 all the way to about 102,000 in hours. And while this was going on, altcoins got absolutely wrecked, and some altcoins dropped over 90%, which is absolutely insane. But this happened extremely quickly, and this was mainly due to the tariff news that was the main instigator of this drop, which wiped out all of the leverage and caused kind of a domino effect, causing all of the leverage traders to just get liquidated in a massive wick that was bought up super quickly. So why am I not worried about this? Well, this is actually extremely bullish for me, because it kind of reminds me of the COVID dip back in 2020. So before the markets really exploded in price, we saw this dip here where we got a drop of about, I think it was about 64%. Yeah, about 64% for Bitcoin. Now, during this time, everyone was panicking and selling. And what happened after that is we saw a true altcoin season where the markets absolutely exploded and just ripped. Now, a lot of people on Twitter and YouTube are actually comparing this dip that we're seeing at the moment to that COVID dip. And I believe that is for a good reason, because if this was the dip to flush out all of that liquidity, to wreck all of the long traders, to liquidate them, so that now we can finally push higher and absolutely explode, it would not surprise me. But I'm fundamentally bullish, because even though we did see that big wick down on Bitcoin, we actually got bought up straight away, and we're still holding above our main level of support, which is this zone here at about 107,000. So as long as we're holding above this key level here, there's nothing to worry about, in my opinion. I believe that we are going to see new all-time highs very soon. And when we take a look at the total market cap for crypto, we can see that we are still just trading inside of this ascending wedge. And all we did on that massive wick down is we pretty much just came down to retest the bottom trend line here, and we've got to bounce exactly from that level. And my thesis is still exactly the same, that we are going to see the total market cap increase to the top of this rising wedge here, which would put it at a 10 to 12 trillion dollar market cap. And that also lines up with our Fibonacci extension levels as well. But for us to really get a true altcoin season, however, to see a true altcoin season, we really need to see Ethereum to break out into price discovery and go into all-time highs. Now, while we've seen Bitcoin break its previous 2021 all-time highs and massively outperform, Ethereum has not yet broken into price discovery, and we actually saw a rejection from the previous high of 2021, exactly as I predicted, as that was a very key level. But what I noticed is that we're actually following a very interesting pattern. So if we take a look at the previous cycle for Bitcoin, and I want to zoom in a little bit here. So we kind of had this key trend line of resistance here, as well as a very key trend line of support. And it was actually the moment where Bitcoin broke out of this trend and retested it as support, and then flipped it, is when we got a massive breakout into price discovery. But when we actually look at the Ethereum chart today, we can actually notice a very similar pattern, because those of you who have studied the chart, you know that Ethereum likes to copy Bitcoin's patterns, but Ethereum is actually lagging about one cycle behind. So when we have a look at Ethereum, we can actually see that we're doing the exact same pattern that we did in 2020 for Bitcoin before it absolutely broke out. So we have this ascending triangle pattern, and we can see that when we compare Bitcoin to Ethereum, we had a high and we got a rejection that consolidated back down. Here we have a high the rejection, it comes down, then we consolidated along that trend line for a little bit, same as Ethereum consolidated along the trend line. We had a lower high and a rejection back down to the range low, lower high and a rejection back down to range low, and then once we finally broke above that and then flipped that level into support is when we got our true breakout. And right now for Ethereum, we can see that we have just broken out and we are retesting that level of support, about to get that true breakout in my opinion. So where Ethereum is where Bitcoin was in 2020. I believe that we're about in this point of time where Ethereum's about to absolutely break out into price discovery and go parabolic. And this lines up with some of our other charts, because when we take a look at the total free chart, for example, so this chart excludes the price action of Bitcoin and Ethereum. We can see that we've just been forming this ascending triangle pattern where we've essentially just been bouncing in between this range, and we are now at the apex of this triangle where the market has to come to a decision. Is it going to break bullish or is it going to break bearish? Now, being in a bull market, you would typically expect this to break bullish. And what we can see that we pretty much came up exactly to the highs and got a rejection, and that caused us to get our drop down. But we're getting to the point where the market is going to break out in a big way, and I'm expecting this breakout to occur to the upside. And if we just pull some simple Fibonacci extensions, it can actually give us some price targets. So excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, I would be projecting this to break out all the way to a $3.5 to almost $4 trillion market cap for the altcoins, which would be absolutely insane. And when we go to the Bitcoin dominance chart, we can see that we are currently in a downtrend for Bitcoin dominance, because the moment we broke down from here, we actually broke into bearish market structure of putting in lower lows and lower highs. And that's exactly what I believe is happening at the moment, where we actually had this trend here, and I believe that we're actually just about to reject off of this trend line and potentially put in that next lower low for the altcoins. And those of you that know the Bitcoin dominance chart, when this chart goes down, it means your altcoins are outperforming Bitcoin. And this is when altcoins do 10, 20, 30x returns during these big moves down in the Bitcoin dominance. Now, there is the potential that we could see a bit more of a rise. If we do draw this trend line a bit differently, you can draw it like this. So it does have the potential to potentially come up a bit higher before putting in another low. But regardless, I believe that the dominance is going to fall, whether we do go a bit higher in the short term or whether we reject from this current level of resistance. It doesn't really matter, because we are in bearish market structure for the dominance, which is extremely bullish for all of our altcoin bags. But that's pretty much all I've got for today's video. If you'd like to do some one-on-one coaching with me to learn how to trade or how to invest, send me an email. And if you'd like to purchase my top 10 crypto picks, the coins that I believe are going to be the most profitable and the best performers this cycle, just click on the link below and you can purchase that one. But besides that, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.
Bitcoin, please go to moon. Stop going sideways now. Don't ever say we going down to 1K, but Mr. Novogratz say we have bottomed out. Novogratz is bullish. Bottomed out. Don't ever rise is bearish.
Bearish target, 13 times there.
Novogratz is bullish.
Bitcoin could be at 40,000.
Let us go to